this wee thing to stop. There we go.
Ta-da.
Evening, folks. Thanks for coming in to Paranormal and History's interview with Through the Veil Paranormal. As normal, Sarah's next to me, my co-host, and underneath it you see Through the Veil Paranormal. So thanks for coming in. Nicole's all right if I call you Nicole?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to come in and speak to us tonight. So before we start throwing questions at you, would you like to tell us just a wee bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, my name is Nicole Stroud, and I'm what I call a self-proclaimed medium because I actually had to look it up. Also do clairaudience with clear sight and recognition. I see spirits through photos, video. I see them as clear as I see anyone else. I really like to, help myself, help the spirits, help people because I can see them so clearly. And I think I was, given the gift for a reason to help others. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm lead investigator with Through the Veil Paranormal. Fixing to be a co-leader investigator with Paranormal Underworld. We're starting a join channel.
Right.
So yeah.
That'd be good if you get joined up, the two channels together.
There he is.
So, hi, Paranormal Underworld. Thanks for coming in, and Brett as well, and Dobie's here. I think I've seen Nicole as well. Thanks for coming in, folks.
The other Nicole, right?
Other Nicole.
You were on. I think I was in a fan with you the other night. It was Eddie's stream, and Nicole was in, and I forgot your name was Nicole, and so I kept getting mixed up with the comments. I mean,
yeah. Probably call me TTVP. That's what Chaos calls me.
I've seen that in Eddie's stream earlier on tonight, TTVP.
Yeah.
And it took me a wee while to work out what it meant. You know how you get tata for now and stuff like that, It took me a couple of then I clicked on what he was talking about, So your first question tonight is,
how long have you been investigating?
Oh wow, 30 plus years. I could say that, but I started whenever I was a teenager, really to get into what I was seeing. I was a curious teen. Why am I seeing these things that other people don't see? I loved history. I like scary stuff, as all teens do. At first, it was getting out there, getting the thrills, and after a while, it became of a question of why and how, and then that's when I really got into more of the investigational work.
That question, how did you get into the paranormal?
So you can realise from years ago.
Scott, shut up. Most of these questions do kind of tie in with each other.
Yes. So really, how I got into the paranormal, I just answer that. I was a thrill seeker as a teen, and then later in my years, 20s, 30s, I really got into wanting to know the history and the whys and what fors and how do things work, and it took me to here.
See, I was somewhat the same, and I've been into paranormal for 25 plus years. Must be more than that actually. And the first couple of years, I would pick up on things, like if the landline rang, I would know who was calling before they picked up, And this went on. It was just wee silly things, and this went on for about 2 years, and then I started going to spiritualist church and started kind of really studying it, and the more I studied it, the more we picked up things.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that once you started studying, looking into it, you kind of opened up more to it?
Oh, most definitely. Because, once you get, especially here recently with a lot of the new apps and the new gadgets, they're upgrading all the time. And once you start hearing other people's theories and opinions and, watching some of these shows, you start getting opened up to how things could actually be different than how you perceive them. and you're always wanting to catch, that next thing, or, kind of debunk maybe their theories, or they're trying to
Mhm.
debunk your theories. And it just opens you up to a whole new different thing.
See, I found the best way that I learned. I used to go to spiritual church in Glasgow every Sunday, and the service would start at 7. And but if you go in at 6 o'clock, a cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever your preference was, and you would it gave you a chance to sit down and talk to people
Mm-hmm.
and just pick up, little bits and pieces of information. You get a couple of mediums, they would come in and sit down and talk to you, what have you. And I actually preferred learning that way than reading up in it, studying books or film. Or was there a particular side that you preferred, studying, or a particular way you preferred to study? Sorry.
I think my greatest study area is actually being in the field, being out there, being in it, watching how, spirits communicate and what happens whenever they do communicate. How do I feel? And, then I would take that and, I would put it with how did someone else react to this? And did they get the same feelings and readings and stuff like that? So, yeah, my best tool is really being out there. And I love being out there.
Mm-hmm. And real life situation, rather than kind of studying textbooks and what have you. I mean, the
Yeah.
textbooks, textbooks, documentaries, etc., are good, but as you say, I think it is better being out there, what's the word, in the field kind of thing,
Yeah,
learning.
it kind of gives you that experience too. I mean, you can read books all day long about how to be a doctor, but until you actually work on someone's heart, you don't have that experience.
And when you were out investigating, if you picked up something and felt spirit, the next time you sort of studied book-wise, did you find you could relate to the book more because you'd experienced it yourself, or?
No, not really. I mean, I could use the books as far as a backup, but I can't tell you really one book that I have really read up on any kind of techniques on
Mm-hmm.
paranormal investigations or anything like that. I mean, I have, kind of read up on, psychic mediumship, trying to figure out why I do what I do, because it's kind of an unexplained area. And that's really the only thing I've read up on. I still don't have clear answers to that. So I just do what I do.
That's what I say. I just do what I do and
Yeah.
see what happens. I think that's all you can do is see what, sometimes you'll get something, sometimes you won't.
Yeah. And a lot of times you don't.
Exactly. But it's kind of down to the spirits, if they want to talk to you, if they don't. Same as in real life.
There we go. If you could investigate anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh, that's always a fun one. Really, I would like to do Pinhurst. I watched the documentaries on Stuff for the Little Children, and I have such a connection with children and those kind of spirits that, I would like to, even just go there and be for them and maybe have a talk. I would just like, I love that history. But then again, I
Mm-hmm.
would like to be there for the spirits. And Pinhurst is just one of those that it's, kind of reaches out for me that I would love to do.
Especially as you say about being children.
Mm-hmm.
I think they obviously, they're passed over before people. They've got less, how you put it, life experience. This is just my opinion. They've got less life experience than adults do, so they pass over. I think they're kind of more lost and confused as to what's happened, where they are, what's going to happen.
Right. Secret of my love.
Hey Eddie, thanks for coming in. I just seen your name pop up there. Saying Granny, she's just in a shower. She's away at aerobics class tonight. It's her water Zumba thing. She's got that for 3 hours tonight. So she'll be home when she's home. Thanks for that, Eddie.
Yeah, next question. Where is it? So far, what is your favourite location that you have investigated?
Oh, wow. So far. There is so many. Mm. Well, I did just recently take a trip to Boston. I will put that one out there because of the history. And I live in such a rural area, and even though I do see a lot of Civil War, revolutionary spirits and stuff like that, but it's few and far between here. When I went to Boston and went to the Anawan Rock and the Dighton Rock, I'm probably saying that wrong, but the Bridgewater Triangle.
Hmm.
I've seen so many spirits, the pilgrims and the natives and all that history that was there. And, I got to see the Mayflower and stuff like that, or Mayflower too. The history there just amazed me. I mean, I could spend another 2 months there just, walking around and seeing things. It's not necessarily one place that you would get to investigate, but just, seeing the people and the spirits.
So it's quite an active area.
Very active. I mean, Paranormal Underworld, we're just driving down the street, he can notice it on my face that, I would see, 15 or 20 in one area, and I'm just, watching them, and, they would kind of catch a look back at me, and I'm just like, there's so many. And, as weird as I may seem, I would like to just sit down and talk to some of them and, find out their history and stuff. I mean, that would be amazing to me.
I think that would be I agree there, Nicole. That would be amazing if you could actually sit down and have a conversation, even with one spirit.
Mhm.
Because I think that they've all got a story to tell, and every story would be different. As you see, the pilgrims and what have you. I mean, I imagine some of their stories would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I would love to be able to sit down, like you see in the films, somebody sitting down having a conversation with a ghost. I think it would be quite an amazing experience,
Yeah.
and one that would stick with you as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
love talking to the spirits. I've tried to write a couple books that, they would tell me stories, their life and how things happened, and you learn so much from them, and you respect them just as people. And
mhm.
I mean, it's amazing the history that a lot of it is even covered up, that it's not actually told. And for me to be able to get that information and relay it to other people, I mean, I would talk to a spirit any day.
Mm-hmm. There's a paranormal on the world. You talk to Lester Vale.
Yes, Lester was a spirit that was hanging around Paranormal Underworld's driveway there, and I at first, I didn't say nothing to him. I think it took a few days that I finally approached him and got to talking, and he had been there, and he was actually waiting for, I guess, his wife. We're still trying to look into it,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to reach out to me to get in contact with her. And he was telling me, about where his house used to be. And we used to sit there, I say paranormal over the world. He really couldn't see him, but I would detect, where he was walking, and found out that he was actually, looking at his garden. So he was still seeing the property and things, how they actually still were.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did an interview with him, kind of talked to him through a voice box recorder and put that up. But it was really interesting just to, sit down and talk to him too.
Do you think that spirit, the more you go to the same location, if there's a particular spirit in a particular location, do you
I
think that the more you go there, that spirit becomes more familiar with yourself?
Yeah, they're just like people. I mean, I'm not going to approach somebody right off and say who I am and how are you doing and tell you my life story. It's going to take me a couple times to see you and to get to trust you. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same way with the spirits. I mean, they're people, or we're people. So
Well, that's the way I looked at it. I put it in the way that spirit are the same as us, except they're missing the physical body. You
mhm.
know, that's it. That's the only difference between us and spirit. They don't have a physical body, whereas we do.
Yeah,
Um, I think.
they have feelings and thoughts, and
Hmm.
this is as they ever did. I mean, and a lot of people think that even you might have like a something demonic in your house when actually it's just a really mad spirit at you, and you're not understanding what it wants, so it starts throwing things, tantrum, just like people would do. I mean, if I got ignored for a while, I might start throwing dishes too.
Do you think that's why a lot of people? sort of feel they've got a demonic spirit or a bad spirit in their house.
Mhm.
Because it's probably just somebody's grumpy and wanting to be noticed.
Yeah. I mean, 90% of the time, that's what I have run into, and especially, like we'll take Bobby Mackey's for instance. I mean, they say demonic,
Mm,
demonic, demonic there, and really, what I got there, with Johanna and with Carl. I mean, they have a lot of investigators that come in and out of there that don't see them, that don't actually, understand whenever they're speaking to them, that they're speaking back and there's things that they want. And a lot of them are just mad. It's like
hmm
Johanna she asked me for some books. All she wants is some books left behind to read.
And so
So
they're just angry.
yeah.
I've seen Bobby Mackey. I've seen a couple of documentaries on Bobby Mackey's, but I believe that spirits just they want the acknowledgement. They want you to know that they're
Hmm.
there. My old flat had a spirit, and I stayed myself. Sarah and I were in together, and I've got I had quite a collection of Buddhas at the time, and I was quite OCD with my Buddhas, where they should sit and which way they should face. And I knew exactly, I must have had about 15, 20 Buddhas, and I knew exactly which way each Buddha faced. Sarah
Hmm.
will tell you. And I would come in from work sometimes, and a Buddha would have been moved, it turned slightly. I thought, no, I didn't move that because the only time I moved them was to clean them and I put them
Hmm.
back in the same place. But I would notice that my Buddha had been moved a wee bit, ever so slightly. One time, I was a creature of habit. I used to put my TV remote down in front of the TV every night, but I turned it off. And one day I came in and I went to turn the TV on and I couldn't find the remote. It was gone. I hunted the flat for it. I found it underneath my bed in the bedroom.
You have a
And
jokester one.
I thought, there's no way, I would have put it underneath my double bed, you know. And but the final straw came one day. I was watching the TV, and the lid in the kitchen bin flew off, landed on the floor, and I was really engrossed in this. It was a documentary I was watching, in the bin, and I ended up shouting at it. Well, I know you're there. Just stop it. I'm trying to watch the telly, and after that, it stopped.
So
You know,
you acknowledged them, and that's all they really wanted.
as soon as I told them enough's enough, that was the end of the story. I knew he was still there because I used to say goodbye and hello, every time I came in and out of the house. And if I
Hmm.
was in myself, I'd maybe tell him how my day went, stuff like that. But all the moving of Buddhas and keys and everything, that stopped, So I think they just want attention at the end of the day to know that they're still existing in some kind of form,
Your
basically.
cat's nice as well, Scott. Remember the bulbs used to come up flying off them and land like halfway across the room?
Yeah.
Oh, I had a garland of Christmas bulbs across my fireplace one year, and I came in for work, and one of the casings, it was a wee round casing that I noticed was lying on the floor,
Hmm.
about halfway across the living room. And I told one of my friends about it, and he says that the bulbs probably blew. And I says it never blew because the bulbs weren't on, and they kind of bulbs don't generate enough heat. I says this thing had snapped off and rolled across the living room floor. So I forgot about the bulb bit, Sarah. Thanks. So it's just weird things, and I mean, I think a lot of people would, and no doubt you've had it as well, Nicole. People kind of look at you strangely, if they catch you speaking to a spirit, and they don't know that one's there. Have you ever had any kind of funny looks or off of people around you?
Um, you want to repeat that?
That talked. That talked too fast there.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've been talking to a spirit? Maybe at a bus stop or, somewhere, and there's been people round about you that have noticed you and maybe gave you strange looks.
All the time. Yeah, because I get any more that I really don't care. I'm going to acknowledge that spirits are talking to me because I'm not going to be rude. And
Mhm.
if I'm in the grocery store or if I'm on the street and they say something to me, I'm going to say something back. I mean, people's going to look at me like I need to be in the loony bin. But I just, I do me, and I just,
You do what you do,
yeah,
and if they're there, then you say hello, or tell them about your day. Whatever it takes, basically.
yeah.
Beep Beep says he's loving my shiny bald head. Thanks, Beep Beep. I'll
Next
put a
question.
hat on.
What is your most used piece of
Well, other than myself, I do like my SB11. That's the spirit box, and the reason I like the SB11 is because you can use AM and FM together. You can do forwards and backwards together, so you don't get any of that radio interference. And it's got the temperature gauge on it and stuff like that. And I could use that to pretty much acknowledge, what I'm seeing. Like in my recent video, and I walk up and I see a spirit, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And across the SB11 will say, "Hi, how are you?" So
Hmm.
we kind of work together on the SB11, or what they call the necro. I like that with my little guys, my younger spirits, because it does have that voice bank that they can manipulate. Reincarnate them with words and how to use them. So yeah, those are kind of, that one's pretty good for me too.
So you have different ways of dealing, talking and communicating with maybe an adult spirit to a child spirit.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just wondering that obviously as in real life you take an adult different to a child as well. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of like with the older spirits, that's been around more. They know how to use their energies and how to manipulate things. So they can use the white noise a lot easier than, you know, a younger spirit that really hasn't, matured beyond that younger spirit stage. And
mhm.
just like with a child and a toy, they like those things that they can manipulate and use. And I really like, the voice banks with the younger spirits.
Have you ever had an adult spirit pretending or to be a child or just to maybe fool you or have a joke or it might sound a silly question, but I know a lot of spirits can come through as children sometimes.
Yeah, no, I really haven't gotten that. I did have a Dybbuk that portrayed to be a normal spirit, because
Hmm.
pretty much, what a Dybbuk is it manipulates a human spirit and it
Hmm.
attaches itself. So I'm sitting there talking to this thing, and now I'm looking at it like it's a normal human spirit when actually it was not. So that's the only, trick that I got that they used against me.
Right, thank you.
have
Right.
you ever refused to go back to a location after investigating?
I have said I refuse to go back, but I usually end up going back anyway.
You mean at the time that you leave, you think I'm never going back there, but a week or two later, you think, well, you know, let's get back again and have another look.
Yeah.
Um, Frankie's in. Hi, Frankie. Thanks for coming by.
Well, that's us with Canongate, Scott. We've said to date that we won't go back, but I'm sure it will be on the cards to go back.
Yeah, I've always, they say curiosity kills the cat, and that's probably going to be my last line. Um, yeah, I'll run into, dark things that I don't understand, and, it just might be a spirit that's upset. And, okay, maybe I should go back and find out.
I think at the time, this is just my opinion. I think at the time when it happens, and you sort of whether you just walk away from the location, you run away from the location, whatever, you're in that mindset, and
Mhm.
you're that your energy's that pumped up, and you just go, no, never ever again. But I think after you get home and you're calmed down and you kind of get back to normal, that your mind starts to calm down as well, and you start thinking
Mhm.
about that situation in a whole different kind of perspective. You
Right.
think, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. Is that how you see it? Is that what makes you get back again?
No, I mean, I would know there's something there that's, for a reason. And the only reason I would leave is because, I am feeding it that energy, that negative energy, of me being scared or, me being unsure. And I will never give something, my energy to hype itself up and do something that's potentially what they want to do.
Hmm.
But, I always end up going back just to, prove of what I was scared of to begin with, even though it may be bad.
Have you ever had a spirit follow you home?
Unfortunately. We went to Bobby Mackey's, and we were in the basement doing an investigation. And there was kind of a dark entity spirit. I'm not for sure it was exactly the one that followed me home. It may could have been, or the one that followed me home was just lurking to the side. But I got this sharp pain in my neck, and it really felt like something had reached in and like pulled my spinal cord in my neck. I was in some severe pain. I was nauseous and thought I had lay down. And all the rest of that night, I was getting threats. You want me to take your head off and things like that. And it was kind of across. It was a spirit called Ed, but
Hmm.
I never really caught him but once to know what he looked like. And I blessed all my equipment like I normally do, except for one camera that we didn't use, and I didn't think about it. And whenever I got home and I went on to another investigation, I kept hearing the same voice over the necrophonics, and I was like, "Well, that voice sounds familiar."
Hmm.
And I asked it. I said, "Why can I not see you?" I said, "And you sound familiar." Well, it started talking about slaughter. Well, the place that we were at, it was saying slaughter at Bobby Mackey's because it was a slaughterhouse. And, further along during the day, using between the two boxes, he told me his name was Ed. And I kept getting Ed a lot. Well, after I get home and I'm like, oh, why do I have Ed? And I started noticing the same spirit that I seen at Bobby Mackey's around my house. And, he started
Right.
saying derogatory things. And I'm like, oh, no, we got to get rid of Ed. So we had to bless Ed clean out the house. I hope he went back. He might be out there on the street lost, but
But he's definitely left the house.
yeah, I have not seen him in my house.
Um, do, do you ever feel like your house is like kind of Grand Central Station at any time? Obviously a lot of spirits are attracted to you. Do you ever feel like your house is? I've heard people say, "Oh, my house is like a train station, a bus station. It's constantly back and forward, and you can feel them." And have you ever had that kind of experience at home?
Not here at my home because I can see them, and if I see somebody that's not supposed to be here, you gotta leave. But it's usually more if I'm out, then they will come to me because I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that they know that I know that I could see them and understand them. And a lot of them reach out to me, but no, my home's not real busy. I have 5 that are here that are, normal residents, and I talk to them. We get along. I play with my younger ones, and we play ball, and yeah.
Got one at the moment, Scott, that we're unsure who she is.
What's that, Sarah? Sorry.
I said, I think we've got one spirit in here at the moment.
We had an investigation in here on Friday night, Sunday night, at
Sunday.
the weekend, and with the laser grid up on that wall, you can see directly behind Sarah with
Hmm.
the laser grid up there, and we caught a shadow running across.
Oh wow.
Very, very. I mean, you're talking less than a second. It was a blink of an eye. But Sarah managed to slow it right down
Hmm.
as much as she possibly could, and you can see something walking, walking or moving across the lights. So I've never felt anything in here. I've never picked up anything in here. But so we don't know. We're going to do another investigation this weekend and see if we get anything.
Now, are you
Um,
going to do that live? I mean,
we
We
will.
could do.
I
Yeah.
could follow along. I mean, and see what I see. I mean,
Well, if you want, I can show you the video that we caught the other day.
Okay, I can look at that.
You're welcome. 2 seconds here. If you want to come in at the weekend, Bill, you're totally welcome to come in. That'd be amazing to have you sitting in along with us.
Yeah, because I'm pretty good at picking up
Mhm.
little guys and spirits.
Right, let's have a look. This is a slowed down one.
Yeah, your spirit is there to the right of the. Yeah, I see it.
Right, it just came straight across. It was, but the thing is, right, we never seen it because we were on a private stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it was with the camera set up here, and it was the camera that picked it up, but yeah, we never seen it on the webcam.
Mm-hmm. And nobody walked in front of it or moved their
Nope.
arm.
No,
I was sitting where I'm sitting. Scott was sitting to the left of me
Mm-hmm.
on an armchair, so none of us moved or walked or
Well,
anything.
the spirit that I did see was already there before the shadow came across, and it's kind of like, I guess, where the edge of your couch or your chair would be, and it's kind of got that blue aura, but he's standing there before the other one even comes across. That's why I was questioning.
So there was two there. You picking up on two in that?
I picked up on the one, and that's why I was questioning about the shadow that came across, because I really didn't feel a spirit energy connected to that shadow. That's why I was asking if it was an arm or something like that. I mean,
Right, I got your picture up wrong there, Nicole. Sorry. I was Sarah that noticed that when she was going through the footage on Monday, and she shouted me in, come and see it, come and see it. And when we seen it, we were, obviously we were buzzing. But so we're going to do another, probably Saturday night if you're available on Saturday night.
yeah.
Be about 10 p.m. our time, so it'll be. I'm still trying to get used to because you're in a different time zone from Eddie as well. I know he's in Alaska and what have you, and so he's on different time zones because your country's that big. So you're 6 hours behind, is that correct?
I think I'm right around 6 hours behind you.
We're at 9:35 here at night.
Okay, it's 3:37 here now.
So you're 6 hours. So it'll be 4 p.m. your time.
Okay.
If you're available to come in, that'd be absolutely brilliant. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would love
Stream
it.
it live the way we are the now, and I'll set the camera up and have the grid up and everything else, don't we? And run the necrophonic because we had a lot of voices coming through on the necrophonic. It was really, really weird.
It was a good night. It's the first time we've ever considered investigating our home. I know a lot of people probably have done it in the past, but we never. It's just one of these. We were on Eddie's stream and we're chatting away, and just one thing led to another. We ended up doing an investigation. But so that'll be good for this Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Nicole.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that.
Brilliant. That's a deal then. Let's see, there's got more questions for you.
I'm gonna say hello to anybody I missed.
Oh, Eli's in as well. Hi, Eli. I hope you enjoy your pizza.
Frankie's in, Nicole, Andy, the usual. The usual people. Where am I? There we go. If you go to a location and get nothing, what do you do?
I don't get nothing. I go find another location. I mean, yeah, I will sit there for, I'll give it, if I see a spirit, then I will, try to be nice and communicate. If they just don't feel like talking, they don't feel like talking. Now, if I go to a location and I don't see nothing, I'll probably sit there, maybe 4 hours or so, and I'll be like, okay, nobody's showing up, so I just leave. I mean, sometimes you get nothing, and everybody thinks it's all, great and grand, and you always got this interesting stuff happening. Sometimes you don't.
I think we've actually worded that question wrong. I think we've actually mean as you say you sit for about 4 hours, Nicole. I know a lot of different investigators maybe give it an hour, 2 hours. I think that's the way we should have actually worded that question. I think that's our fault on that one. How long you would normally sit for. Nicole's saying that the camera fell over as well, Sarah.
Aye, the webcam at the top of my screen thing fell off.
Oh, wow.
And it's never budged. If I set it up and it fell off. So,
Yeah, it usually takes a lot of energy for a spirit to move something. So if they do move something a wee bit, then it's of significance that they're trying to get your attention for something. Now, if they really move something that you haven't been paying attention and they're using all they got, so, hey,
our camera battery totally drained as well. The camera that was sitting there, and it was full when we brought the camera through, and it obviously just drained. And then, as Nicole said there was foreign languages coming through on the spirit box. It was a strange night.
yeah, I get that here sometimes. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you answered it. Do you ever get various languages coming through on your equipment?
Yeah, I get some. Well, I've heard Cherokee around here. I've heard a lot of French, and I think I need to take a second language. That's what I need to study on because I tell a lot of people just because I died in Hong Kong don't mean I'm gonna start speaking Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
People speak the language that they spoke, and sometimes you get some stuff you're like, what?
Some people would ask me that as well before. If if you're English, you pass over, you speak English, like American, Canadian, Australian. But if you're Dutch or French when you pass over, do you still speak French or do you start speaking English? But I always believe that you speak the language that your native language you were brought up in, the language you spoke in this life. But I would imagine you get a lot of different languages because of all the the people that immigrated to America. I mean, there was a lot of people came from various parts of the world. So, do you think that would account for all the different languages that you pick up on?
Yeah, and I've even caught like once you really begin to listen to your spirit boxes, I have picked up like a person's like accent. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they have a Boston accent or like a couple of these slave ghosts that I have here. I hate using that word, but that's the best way to describe it. They have
Mm-hmm.
that tone to them. Like Morena here will say yes'm,
Mm-hmm.
and they still have their tone. They still have their accents, and a lot of people speak different languages.
I guess that's what makes a spirit all the personality they keep. As we said earlier on, they take literally everything with them except the body. Language. Everything except their physical body. Frankie P's asking, is it true spirits could take over a spirit box?
I'm not sure what you mean by take over a spirit box. I know they can attach to your equipment because it is an energy field that is going through that. So they can I mean we're all energy, so they can intermix with your energy fields is what I'm saying, of your equipment, of your cars, of yourself, and they can attach to that, and
Mm-hmm.
you can take them around with you without knowing it.
Next one is.
There you go, Scott.
I'll put that in tonight because, to be honest with you, Nicole, I was watching a documentary on it today, the Sally House, and I found it quite interesting.
I think I've watched one documentary on that, but I really can't honestly, truthfully tell you what the Sally House is right now. Is that the one with the little girl?
Yeah, I thought it was quite, for the way they were talking on the documentary, it's the first time I'd watched anything on it. And, excuse me, from the way that they were putting it over in the documentary, it was a big, famous American ghost story. Similar to Amityville and what have you. And that's why I wanted to ask your opinion on it, because I watched it and I found it quite interesting. It was the turn of the 20th century when the little girl mum took her to see the doctor during the night in a storm, and they had no anaesthetic to operate on her. And they started operating on her, and she unfortunately passed away on the table. And the little girl said to haunt there, and the guy, the actual doctor, who's meant to be a bit of a sadist, and we liked the doctor. So I was watching it was a medium called or something Bobby Thomas, I think his name is Canadian. Johnny Thomas, something like that. He's Canadian.
I think I know who you're talking about.
He always wears the, what do you call it, the headscarves, the bandanas and stuff. He's got a cap or a bandana, he's always got the name on. He was famous for finding there was a wee boy went missing, and the police brought him in, and he pinpointed exactly where the kid was, the child's body was. He was found in a dumpster, exactly where this guy said. I know his second name's Thomas. I think it's Bobby. I might have his first name wrong. I put that in because I thought that was quite a big story over in America.
I'm actually going to have to look into that. Like I said, I watched one documentary. I try to not watch too many documentaries because I want to go into these places that interest me, what I call blind. I don't want everybody's history or what, they know. I want to figure it out on my own, and then you can tell me, So I really don't look too much into them, but I will look into that Sally House. That sounds really interesting.
That's like us when we go out investigating. I'll research the history beforehand, but I won't tell Scott any of the history until after we've done or been to the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I like. I don't like to know anything. I mean, someone else, like when I work with, Paranormal Underworld, Jack's there. That's what I really like to get into. What we're going to do. He's the history knowledge, and he can gather all that history and not tell me, but he already knows it. So whenever I come up with something,
he's there to verify or back it up or confirm. It's a good. I know that's the way saying, and I'm saying it's a great way of working. So it's a good way to work. Frankie P saying, after watching live streams of investigations, can a spirit take drain a battery through the internet? As I've had 3 phones died after watching various streams.
Are you sure you don't have a spirit in your house? I think I know spirits can go to and fro. I know this, personally, talking to a few. So, I mean, I don't know so much them coming over the phone, but they might be able to, because I've had them, speak to me through the internet. I've had them, yell at me for help through the internet. So that's something really to look into. Do they actually, pull everybody's energy? I mean, we all are seen. I would first investigate if I had a spirit in my house before I went that far. But
I suppose there's all different ways for spirits to take in. And I know when we went to Greyfriars, our batteries are meant to have a 90-minute lifespan, and we took two. We fully charged 2 of them before we went, and one of them lasted about 15 minutes, and that was it. Totally drained right away, and put the other one in, and that went the exact same way. I'll get about 10, 15 minutes out of that one, and it was zapped. And it was annoying because, you know yourself, you charge everything up before you leave the house and that, and we didn't have any means of charging it after we'd left the house, so we're sitting there with 2 dead batteries and no camera, and you sort of, I checked my phone, and my phone was like at 24%, because I never think of charging my phone. It's always the cameras and that, we make sure we're charged. And you always forget to charge your phone. I looked at my phone with 24%, something like that. But to call it a night, time up. I suppose you've had that yourself at some point, Nicole.
I had that just this past weekend. We went and done the Missouri State Pen, and I had all my batteries charged before I even went because I knew it was going to be a 5-hour investigation. Everything's going to be charged. We are good. And I, had my first battery in, and I walked out in front of the penitentiary. I was shooting my first beginning roll, and my battery went all the way to yellow. And I'm like, well, this is not going to happen because we're supposed to be in there within an hour. And these are lithium batteries, so that they take 8 hours to even charge. So, I run back to the car, try to get a 30-minute on that one. I've got, my last remaining battery in there. We do have another battery and a backup camera, but I really don't like the backup camera. And I don't think, guess we were in there no more than an hour, and I lost that battery. So we were back up to the backup camera and a battery pack. And if it wasn't for the battery pack, I don't think we would have made it through.
It just disappeared. There's something on the ceiling. So just drained all the batteries and everything, and she was using.
Yep. Right, I think we've got one last question. Yes, we do. Here we go. How has what you do affected your life compared to your younger years?
I guess I'm more seasoned in understanding what's going on with me now because I started seeing things when I was 5 years old. So yeah, so go from that little bitty date to now. I mean, if I had the experience that I had now, back then, I would imagine what where I would be at now. But I mean, I've grown so much in learning over those years, which is the experience that I've had. And seeing different spirits and talking to them, like I said earlier, you learn all kinds of things just by listening.
It makes you wiser.
Mm-hmm.
The spirits that visit love to eat all our batteries.
Yeah, I can't keep a battery even in this house. I keep my laptop on the charger cord. You're not supposed to do that because it'll destroy your battery. But phones, anything in here with the 5 spirits that I have, of course, the whole town, I mean, it's pretty active. So, yeah, nothing stays alive in this house.
I just totally. You were talking about the various investigations that you've done, like penitentiary, etc. Do you get? How do you get access to these places? Do you get invited along, or do you just go along and ask them if you can investigate, or?
Well, with the one that the penitentiary, one of our regulars actually invited us to be there, and you can get these. They're called spirit tours, and pretty much the more you pay, the more you get is the kind of thing. So we paid for this 5-hour investigation. They'll give you a little tour of the place, make sure you don't hurt yourself. And most of the group actually stayed with the tour group, and since they knew that we were, kind of seasoned in what we were doing, they was like, you guys just go there and be careful. Shine your lights. We'll just, be back here whenever we get ready to go. So, yeah. So a lot of these bigger places over here, yeah, they do have tours. It costs money. A lot of places that, several of us are talking about collabing together are, 15 people or 10 people for $1,000 and up dollars. And, you break that down and it's like, $100 a piece. So you got to go in big groups, but you can't get into these places. So.
But anybody, that's thinking about starting out in the paranormal, we see a lot of young kids these days, teenagers, want to watch a couple of horror movies and they drink some beers on a Friday night and then they think they can go on a ghost hunt. Or they walk into a cemetery with a Ouija board because they saw it in, Amazon Prime, some kids doing it, and but they get their heads chopped off and stuff like that, but they're going to try it. What kind of advice would you give to anybody that's probably wanting to start up in the paranormal business of investigating?
Well, My advice is don't follow these. I call them thrill seekers. Thrill seekers are the ones that do the jump scares. They're the ones that they always see a spirit when they're on camera, and everything's always happening. I mean, what I advise is to treat every spirit with respect, and you are going to probably get nothing at first, but if you continue your journey into it, you respect the spirits, you get quiet and listen, pay attention to your surroundings. I mean, you'll start to feel the difference, and it takes time to learn to do this, and not everything's going to happen, like I said. And sometimes you get nothing. Sometimes you might walk into a house and a spirit is so mad for you being there, they're going to be slamming doors and opening cabinets, and you're like, "Ooh," you just have that one time. But yeah, just be
So,
respectful.
you see, you're talking there about respect. I've seen quite a few ghost shows and even investigations on YouTube, Marvy, where the people tend to torment the spirits, call them chicken, and if you've not got anything, we're leaving, and is that all all the different various torments or taunts, I should say, sorry, towards them. And what do you think about that? Also you've mentioned respect. I mean,
Yeah, don't
I
do
think
that.
it's bang out of order.
I always say, and I will keep this, saying, to my heart. Whenever you go in there and you're talking to these spirits, you treat them like you're walking in your grandma's house. Want to talk to your grandma,
Mm.
They all have feelings. People have feelings. How would you like it if someone come up and even, I watched one ghost show that made me mad. This one spirit, they was telling this lady that she couldn't live there. She had to leave, and they were really trying to push her out the door, and they were getting more activity because she's mad. That's my house. I was here first. And this was one of the bigger shows, and I'm like, I can't believe they are trying to press the issue that she can't be there when that's her house.
hmm I've watched quite a lot of over the years. I've watched a lot of different ghost shows, and British ones and American ones. And how do you think the media helps the paranormal or hinders it?
I think a lot of it hinders it in a way because I mean, really the paranormal, we're trying to prove that there are spirits out there, and a lot of time it is boring, and a lot of times things don't happen. Well, with the media and the entertainment, that they got to have those views, they got to keep the people's interest. So they're either going to fabricate the story, make it a little bit more horrific or terrifying. They're
hmm
going to put in all the really good stuff that may or may not have happened. So if they had a true paranormal show on TV, it would probably put everybody to sleep.
No, you're right. Can always tell that it's like people get confrontation with unknown entities, be those living or dead. No, that is right, Andy. See, in life as in death, you're always going to get people that just that want to be heard. I've seen a lot of these ghost shows, and as you say, Nicole, it's kind of I've watched some bigger budget shows, and they really do try and just try rile you, rile the, and I just think it's totally wrong. And as you say, with a normal paranormal invasion investigation, you can sit there for hours and get nothing.
Mhm.
But all these shows seem to get activity straight away as soon as they walk in the door. They're getting stones thrown, or lights going off and on, and you know they they never try to debunk anything. They'll make a wee attempt at it. How important do you think it is to debunk stuff?
Yeah, if I walk in and I see lights flickering or something, first check the electrical box. Number
hmm
two, how old is the house? What kind of wiring is it? Get you an EMF meter. Is there actually a shortage within where these power outlets and stuff are at? I mean, you could check all that physically. And if all that checks out, then I mean, you could use someone like me, see if there's actually a spirit there, talk to it, find out why it's flickering the lights off and on. But yeah, I will debunk stuff first
Mhm. I've
before.
no, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Oh,
I think these headphones are going to keep breaking up. I think these are see, we've got two cats and one of them's got a wee love of chewing wires and headphones
yeah,
if we can get to them. So sometimes the sound in this is going off and on. No, I think it is important to debunk where you can. I mean, I've seen quite a few shows where the EMF meter will go off, or they'll get a reading and they'll say, right, that's spirit, but they're right next to a power outlet or a mobile phone or a lamp, and they say, no, that's definitely spirit. They say, well, you've got a big, living room lamp sitting beside you. You don't think about that.
mhm.
So no, because at the end of the day, we feel that honesty is the best way to go in the paranormal.
Oh
Without honesty, you get nothing. And there's no point in, trying to fool people because you're always going to get caught out eventually. Somebody will always
yeah,
click on to something, and I've watched a couple of ghost shows, and the dramatics in it are just unbelievable. And I'm not sexist in any way, but I watched two different ghost shows, and I was both women in both shows, started screaming and running out the door, and you think, oh, and I've always wondered, you're there to, do an investigation, you're there to find spirit, you're there to find a ghost.
what do you
But,
think you was gonna find?
but that's it. They find a spirit and they run in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that just never sat right with me. I've never been able to, get my head around that one. Why? That's like you're out hunting bear and you find a bear and you run away.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. What's your opinion of the the dramatics in these shows?
Exactly. I don't understand. Of course, I give them kudos as far as, entertainment, but it really it doesn't help what actual paranormal investigators are trying to do because even if you go to some of these, private residences and stuff like that, they're going to think that you're going to do what they just seen on some other show. You're
Hmm.
going to be screaming and hollering in their house and maybe tearing up something. And no, that's not what we do. So, yeah.
It's so last question, I promise.
Oh, go
What's
ahead.
the
Oh,
what's the wildest experience you've ever had? The most memorable experience you've ever had?
my most memorable one is my first encounter with an actual demon when I was 15 years old. Um,
Hmm.
my parents actually, rented this house. It was in a horrid condition, but we were po folks and we really didn't have nowhere to go, so we agreed to clean it. And went downstairs. We was trying to get all the stuff out, and there was this one little bitty room in the back that had bed springs and just stuff tossed all in there. So, we pulled it all out, set the door back up where it's supposed to be, and locked it down. And after that, I think it started like 3 or 4 days later, our chairs in the kitchen would just scoot across the floor.
Hmm.
And, my mom's a firm believer in everything. I'm a firm believer, even though I'm 15 at the time. I'm, at nighttime, I'd be laying there and the corner of my mattress would actually turn up, or, we would see like orange, different colors of lights and stuff within the house. And
Hmm.
I actually got scared enough that I did not want to sleep in my room. So my mom started, sleeping in my bed, and then she started having my experiences where the bed would turn up and everything. And she actually seen a big orange ball of light at the end of her bed one night, and this thing came out after her, which after that, she got the priest in the house and blessed it and everything. But I still didn't like the house. And I had came home from school one day, and I was
Hmm.
tired. And instead of laying away in my bedroom, I laid on the sofa, which was in a long living room. And we didn't have any animals. And I look up and there's this beautiful white cat on the back of our sofa. I'm thinking, well, I don't know how that cat got in here, but I said it's a pretty cat, and I was not asleep. I reached up and I was like, "Hey, kitty," I'm trying to pet it, thinking it's the neighbors or something. And this thing's mouth opened up farther than it should have been. And
Yep.
as soon as his head came back, I was lifted from the couch, thrown 5 feet across the living room into like the window area. I was trying to get to my feet, trying to, scurry up. And this thing had got me before I even stood up again and threw me against the front door. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, I could hear the growls and feel the pressure. And that is a true demon. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. I go outside and never dealt with that house again. It wasn't too long. I mean, like days, we end up moving it.
We've got a friend, sorry, it's a voice, I mean, it's driving me nuts. We've got a friend who can see spirit animals and what have you, and she's had a couple of experiences where actually she's asked us to do an investigation in her house, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Do you think animals make the same kind of effort to be noticed as people do, once they pass?
I think it's possible. I mean, they have souls just by the way, a little dog hurts or cries or looks at you. So, I'm pretty sure they do. I've not really been connected to spirit animals. I seen my first time seeing a spirit animal was actually chickens at Bobby Mackey's. So if I could see a
Right.
chicken, and if a chicken has a soul, I'm pretty sure the rest of them do.
Because we've spoke to her quite a wee bit, and she says that first time she stayed, I think it was her grand's, when she was about 15 or 16, she was staying overnight at her grand's, and she came out of the bathroom, and there was a dog sitting in the corner, and she said hello to the dog and came downstairs, and she says to the gran, I saw your dog up the stairs, and the gran said, don't have a dog up the stairs. And she went back up the stairs and the dog disappeared. But when she was telling me, she says, I swear down, Scott, the dog was as real as I'm seeing you. I was sitting, lying down in the corner, and I say, oh, hi there, Butchie, or whatever she called him. And the grand said, I don't have a dog up the stairs. And the dog just, it was gone. Do you think animals, I mean, we've heard it quite a lot, that children and animals are more able to see and sense spirit than adults are. Now, I agree with that theory very much. So, what's your thoughts on that theory?
Oh, most definitely. Because animals. I mean, they're not. I don't want to say corrupted with our thoughts. They have an innocence to them. All animals do, just like children have an
Mm-hmm.
innocence to them. And I think without that adult part of them, that yeah, they can see things and hear things, and spirits do come to them because of that innocence, and they can see a lot more than we can.
One question I've been asked a couple of times is about babies. I mean, I lost a daughter when she was 5 months, just over 5 months old with cot death. I've had a couple of people, not recently, but through the years, that says to me, you've got a 3 or 4 month baby that you lose, where do they go? What happens to them? And although I've been into the paranormal for many, many years, it's something I've never actually found out, if you've got, a very, very young baby who sadly passes over, what do you think happens to there? So do you think they go straight back to the light, or?
Yes, I usually with tiny babies and a lot of the younger children, their energy is still pure. It's still light, so it it goes straight back to
Mm-hmm.
the the collective. I know exactly what it is, but everybody don't like my opinion on it. But yeah, they go straight back. Some of the 5 year I usually get from maybe two. It all depends on the memories and the connection to the adults and stuff that they have. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Usually 2 on up are the spirits, that stay around or decide to stay around or, get lost because it don't happen how everybody thinks it happens. And a lot of them do get lost and just need a little guidance.
Mm-hmm. The theory that, I've always believed that when we pass it, somebody is there to meet us, whether it be, a parent, that's passed away, some family relative, somebody a familiar person. Do you think that's what happens? I know these questions might sound naive, but I think these are
No.
questions that are asked so many times by, everyday people. What happens when I die? Am I going to go to heaven? Am I going to go to hell and stuff?
Well, I can give you my spiritual answer just by being able to talk to the spirits. I mean, everybody's welcome to take it how they want to. But we are energy. I mean, if you look at an Alzheimer's patient where the energy starts to fade in their brains, they forget and stuff like that. So, basically we are energy. So whenever the energy does leave the body and it has conscious mind and collective because it is a soul,
Mm-hmm.
you can decide. And a lot of I'm trying not to get into the religious aspect of it, but a lot of these, whatever, you always hear that as soon as you die, you see the pearly gates or you're in hell, or,
Yeah, it's upstairs or downstairs, basically.
Yeah, well, actually, it's darkness, and that darkness is the confusion of not knowing where you're supposed to be. It's just like being in a brand new school for the first time, and you're like, "Where do I go?"
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, are welcomed by, their husband they haven't seen for years. They might see their kids or their friends they haven't seen for years, and they help them along the way, so they stay behind. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
others that do ascend and know where they're going, they go back to, and once again, a Bible reference, you hear about the river of life.
Mm-hmm.
It is prospectively a river because if you take all these souls that are in this river, I mean,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
they're together in one way or another. That's why whenever people do come back, and I am talking reincarnation because it's kind of what happens. Whenever another spirit is born again and comes back from that river,
Uh-huh.
then some of them do have remaining thoughts that are not washed away because they were pulled, too quickly. Or they might be next to another spirit that they get their thoughts. You have like 5-year-olds that can play Beethoven. That's
Mm-hmm.
because they have collected that energy from the other person that they were close to within that river.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just not a boom bang like everybody thinks happens. I mean, some of them decide to stay, some of them decide to go, some of them are just lost.
So, I mean, do you think that would account for, you hear it every day about these child geniuses, as you say, like 5 years old being able to play Beethoven, or 8 years old who've got a master's in mathematics or whatever. Do you think that kind of would explain why we've seen so many child geniuses, basically? That
Yeah.
maybe, I've never actually thought about it that way. I've heard about the river of life and what have you. I love my gospel music, I always have, and quite a few songs you hear about, you let the river of life, blah blah blah, and so that is quite a good. That's quite a good way to look at it. I would think, because if you, I suppose it's like in real life. If you spend time with, you know, another person, you're going to pick up things
Mhm.
for them, and carry them yourself. So that's quite a good way to think about that one. Thanks very
Oh,
much, Andy. I never thought about that one. And
Wait, what
that way.
Scott's mind.
Well, as you said earlier on, Nicole, we're learning every day. Nobody knows. We're never ever going to know the ultimate answer to the ultimate
mhm.
question. What happens? Um, I think we can only rely on what spirit decides to tell us, if that makes sense. What's your thought on it? You know, that's the way I think how we see things because that's what spirit chooses to tell us. We've all got our own theories of heaven and hell, and
Right.
you know, I've met quite a few people in life that say, "Oh, when you die, that's it, lights out, you're gone, blackness." I thought, no, it's not like that. But no, I think we're learning every single day, and I dare say that you're still learning day by day,
Mhm. Yeah.
and you'll carry on learning until that big time, you know, the big time comes, the curtain gets drawn, or whatever you want.
We'll only know whenever we get there, but I'm pretty at ease with, what I've been told. So I'm
I'm the
pretty.
same. I mean, nobody wants to pass away, you know, but when the time does come, at least you know we don't have any fear because we know that there is something on the other side of the wall, basically. Did your lights just dim there?
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen your light. Just, is that normal? Is that your
Yeah.
visitor?
It usually happens at night, not during the day. So.
Maybe somebody's wanting you to know that they're there.
Yeah, somebody's trying to get my attention.
So is that a sort of normal everyday thing for you at night? Everyday thing at night? Is that an every night occurrence?
Oh yeah, there's always something new and interesting happening here. I mean, I never know what my spirits are up to or what they want, or I would guess that would have been Sister Spectrum there agreeing with what we were on the discussion with. I have a nun that lives in my house.
So how does your family survive? How do they get along with it? Do they just accept it, or
Yeah, my daughter lives here with me, and yeah, she just like just goes along with it because I'm telling her it's okay. I mean, they're just people. Don't worry about it. Only thing that bothers her at night if they start making racket or something, or a book or something might fall off that they want to look at, or she's like, man. But yeah, she goes with me ghost hunting or paranormal investigating and stuff. So it don't bother her. She likes living in a haunted house.
all right, so she's, because I've seen a lot of films again, Hollywood, what have you, but I live in a haunted house, and you see that, the family and the house is so they just can't get used to it, and the teenagers and that hate it, and their friends call them, freaks and weirdos because you live in a haunted house, so you're not normal kind of thing,
Yeah.
But if your daughter goes out with you, go something, and it's all good, I suppose. And I think it's amazing how you can make it a part of your everyday life, and you just, like I seen your light dimming there, and as you say, other things happen to you as well.
It's just
You know,
they
the,
just
the,
go behind me too.
I love how you're so at ease with it, and it just, it's as if you've got a group of friends in. Um, Nicole just said, I thought it was you astral projecting to me. Oh, she's talking to Andy. What's your thoughts on astral? I've heard about astral projecting quite a few times. I've never ever looked into it or, to any interest in it. It's just when Nicole put up the comment there.
I
What do
wish
you
that other people would stop saying stuff like that there's a spirit in my kitchen that keeps peeking in and out. Because I've got to sit here. Kind of makes me a bit. I'm new to the whole
He's asked you a
paranormal.
couple times.
I'm new to the whole paranormal kind of stuff, so it's kind of still like when she says stuff like that, I'm still like, okay.
Sarah is quite new. She's only been into it for, I think, since we started the group, actually. About 4 or 5 months now. She's only been, at first she was kind of
I was a
quite
skeptic.
Did your living
I
room
was.
just get brighter, Nicole?
It's doing like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just seen it's been a bit brighter. Sarah was quite the skeptic at first, but she'll tell you what she thinks now about it.
Now I'm getting there with it. I'm starting to open up a lot more. than before. Like, I knew obviously like paranormal existed and stuff, but I think I was kind of, how to put it, like shutting my mind off from it.
Mhm.
Like I didn't want to know, and then obviously once we started up the group and we went out more and stuff, that's when I started to kind of open up a lot more.
Yeah, and that's usually what happens. I mean, you start, getting that notice of things, and whenever it starts occurring around you, it just seems like a snowball that goes downhill. I mean, just more and more every day that you're going to start experiencing and saying, well, I kind of remember that happening before, but I never paid no attention to it.
That's what happened with me for about 2 years after I noticed a landline. I know it was there. It was a couple of years then after I started going to the spiritualist church and what have you, and that, that it's good. I think that I compared it to a barrier that I had up, and then that barrier slowly came down the more and more I went, and so spirit was able to come through because there was less of a barrier there. But just if I could get back to that astral projecting, just Nicole had mentioned it. What's your views on?
I'm pretty sure it's possible. I mean, if we could, if we're able to see spirits and stuff like that, I don't know why we couldn't find a way to eject our souls or ourselves from our shell. I mean, there might be people experienced and able to do that, and uh, I think maybe it was Jax that told me, but I mean, there's another person that told me that they were able to do that, and they said that they can't go too far because it's kind of like an umbilical cord that is still connected to them that helps them find their way back into their bodies. And I was like, I've never been able to do that, but it's got to be possible, surely. I mean, I'm all open for anything.
As I say, I've never actually studied it. I've heard about it, now and again, but I've never actually took much into it. I've seen quite a few films where people have astral projected, and I'd love to be able to do it because the first place I would go would be to Graceland. If I could do it, I'd be off to Graceland for a visit, basically.
It kind of makes me wonder what actually holds us to our body. I mean, if we're able to leave it when we die, I mean, we should be able to leave it while we're sleeping or whatever we want to. I mean, is it a
Whenever we're not using it.
Yeah.
Paranormal Underworld says, I believe it can be done. I'm not disputing it. I'm not disputing it in any way. It's just, as I said there, we're on the call, there's that many different aspects to the paranormal. We're never ever going to learn everything there is to know, because you'd need to be here for centuries probably to learn stuff, to learn everything. Brett's saying it's like remote viewing. I've got no idea, Brett. I don't know what Nicole thinks of that one. See, I don't have any experience of it, so I can't really make a comment on it. Do you think, Nicole, is kind of like remote viewing?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of remote viewing. I mean, it's being able to see and perceive things from a distance. Correct. I mean, I think that's what they call it. If I'm wrong, you are free to correct me. But yeah, so I guess it would be kind of like that if you could like remove yourself from your body and go view something else. I mean, actually be there. You're not doing it from afar. You're actually there.
Here's a question for you. If you could come to the UK, is there any particular spot in the UK you'd like to investigate? If you only had the choice of one place for a day.
Oh wow. uh,
Now, if you say England, we're going to fall out. And Andy will be smiling if you say England. So.
wow. There is so many. I would like to actually see like the Parthenons and stuff like that. I mean, I would just like to go there. I just say that because, like I said, we're seeing Salem. I mean, all that history. I mean, just to be able to go overseas and see that older history, even, Scotland, England, the undergrounds of France. I mean, I could spend forever over there just trying to collect it all. I don't have a particular place.
You don't have a particular one spot.
I mean, maybe I would go and find out if Jack the Ripper was actually H.H. Holmes.
Well, they never actually caught him, so it's possible it could have been Mr. Holmes. There's that. I mean, there's quite a lot of unsolved mysteries in the UK, even up to this day, and there's still things happen that can't be explained. I would love to go to America for the paranormal side. That you've got so paranormal Leap Castle. There you go. That'd be a good one to do. That'd be a good place to go. America's use are so. I know you're saying that the UK, Scotland, England's got that many places, but I think use top it with the amount of locations you have got over there. I could spend at least a couple of years just touring the haunted places in America. Especially. I think one place I'd really like to go is Alcatraz, and also Grayson. I'll have to go to Grayson. That'd be top of my list. Grayson. Nicole and I are both big Elvis fans, you see.
Well, we'll just switch places for a day. I'll go over there. You can come over here.
That's fine. That's fine. We'd love to go to about 11 BC. That's 13 and a half years after it was sued. I don't know anything about what Andy's talking about.
Wow.
I've not got a clue. Andy has a wealth of knowledge. He is quite intelligent. I don't know what that means. Frankie P says Stonehenge. Stonehenge would be. We've never actually been to Stonehenge. That would be a good one as well. See, there's that many different locations, and if you spend months just hunting through the internet to go to different places. I'd like to do Alcatraz, but I'd like to go to Alcatraz because I hear that's great.
A lot of the old places over here, though, are kind of inaccessible. They kind of either sit in the middle of an island, or they're in the middle of a forest where you would get lost, or they're up really steep hills or down really steep cliffs, and it's like, right, okay, scrap that.
We have that here too. I mean, a lot of the area that I'm in is the Shawnee National Forest. I mean, all your Civil War history and your Revolutionary history and stuff like that, a lot of it is wooded, especially your Native American history. And you get lost.
That just sorry, paranormal. You're saying the ancient Raman. We're heading to Wales. Well, we're ready to go this year, but because of what happened, we took a delay going. But we're planning stopping off at Pendle Hill and also getting into the Raman. The Raman, I've watched a few documentaries on that paranormal underworld, and it's very, very, very active. And I've always had the theory, the guy that owned it was a guy called John Humphreys. He stayed there for many, many years. He was really famous, associated. He sadly passed away in 2017. And they've done quite a few investigations since then. And none of them's ever actually turned around and said it's the spirit of John. It's always the spirit of witches, or there's a judge as well, and a cardinal. But the ancient Raman, see, when we get down to Wales, we will be stopping off there, and you never know, we could end up doing an investigation there if we're lucky enough to get into it. A fantastic place. It was Pendle Hill as well. Because you the Salem witch trials over at your side of the pond, as Eddie would call it. He calls it the pond, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What's your views on the Salem witch trials? I think it's a fascinating subject. It's sad what happened to them. You know, a lot of innocent women, children, men as well were
Hmm.
wrongly accused. Have you ever been to Salem?
I was pretty close here not too long ago. I wanted to go, but didn't get the chance to go.
Excuse me. So is that on your bucket list?
Yeah, that is on my bucket list with the Lizzie Borden house. I wouldn't mind going to Villisca. Um, I wouldn't mind seeing Winchester just because I think it's fascinating all the rooms. I want to know why she built them. Actually, I would like to talk to her if she's
Sarah
around.
might be able to help you in that one. Did you study that? Did you know? Because we read about that.
Wait, but
Was
I
it
don't know.
no? She done it to confuse the spirits because it
There's
said to me.
there's 13 bathrooms, but only one of them is an actual working bathroom in
Mhm.
the full of the house. And the reason she done that was, like Scott said, it was to confuse the spirits.
That would be an interesting place, I think, for me if there is that many spirits there.
But it's the fact that the doors coming out of walls that lead to nowhere. That's what confuses me.
Yeah.
Because in
Well,
one
she
of the
was.
pictures we were looking at, there was a door that opened in the way, and it led you to like a so many foot drop. And I'm like, what's the point in that? Who's going to use that door?
A spirit, I guess. I mean,
Well,
I understood the switchback staircase because of her arthritis and stuff, the little bitty stairs. I mean, I got that one, but
Mhm.
the stairs that went into the ceiling made no sense. Um, the one room that had like all doors that wasn't that big, I think it was next to the seance room.
Mhm.
That really didn't make no sense. Why have an 8 by 8 room with 10 doors? I mean, I was like, what? you know, just odd and end little stuff in that house. I'd like to see it, but I
imagine
There is a
going to that.
film.
Oh, you'd be opening every door trying to get out.
you're right. Yep.
Crazy.
And some of them might just be false doors. It just looks like that they're actual doors, and there's probably nothing cut out for a door. It's just a door plastered on there. I don't know.
There is a
It's a
film
strange
out
house.
with Helen Mirren. She plays. Oh, what was her? I can't even mind the lady. The Winchester lady. What was her name again? Can't mind
Sarah.
it. Sarah.
Sarah.
Imagine forgetting that name.
I know. Sorry. But I watched the film with Helen Mirren, and she played Sarah Winchester, and it was actually a really, really good film. I think that's what first got me interested in it. The first time I'd heard anything, obviously I'd heard the Winchester rifles, but I didn't know the background to it and about the house and the way it was constructed and what have you. And I found that a really interesting film. We might actually do a wee piece on that, Sarah, for a history side that we could do it. Because obviously, as you know, the whole we do the history and the paranormal, which we think is very important to try and balance the two. But we could do a wee piece on that, I mean.
I'll write it on my list.
Yeah, I
Sarah
think as
does all
far as
the. Sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say the Winchester movie, as far as cinematics, I thought it was really good. I mean, it made me question: did she build those rooms for the spirits as spirit rooms, or was she truly just, you know, yeah,
But when he died, I think she was, because I was reading it, it was something like the equivalent of 370 million or something like that in our money. That she was like, it was a huge, huge fortune. And she spent quite a chunk of it building that house and adding on to it. And just, I don't know, the workman says they never knew what to expect day by day because she kept changing her
mhm.
plans and, I want 20 doors there and 10 windows and stuff.
And
Um,
I think the house not under constant construction for something like 47 years, apart from, I think it was like 2 full days or something they'd stopped the work, but other than that, it was constantly, day after day, they were
Yeah.
constructing it.
Yeah, it was like every day that they were doing something. I mean, they worked through the night sometimes, way I understood, and they were going through a lot of help. A lot of guys would quit, and I mean it was continuously. I think up until the day that she died, that they were still working on the house.
Yeah, imagine that. Spirits told her to build it. Spirits told her to build it that way. I think it's not meant to be haunted by the spirits of every victim of a Winchester rifle or gun. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm sure when I was, because I read quite a few websites on it, and I think that said it in one of them. There's meant to be every victim's meant to haunt that house. Whether that's true, I've got no idea. I think we could do a wee.
I'm gonna have to look into it all and either write a big massive post or I'll probably just do a live on it because by the sounds of it, there's going to be that much to look into it. So I might just do a live video about it.
I think it is. It's an immense story.
Yeah.
So, one final question for you, Nicole.
That 10 questions ago.
I know, but you sit there and you've got your kind of questions planned out what you want to ask, but as you're answering one, something else pops into your head. You think, oh wait a minute, I need to ask about that. I need to ask about this.
I'll answer anything.
A few weeks ago, we done a live on Amityville, the Amityville house, and I'd done a live on it, probably whether it was real or fake, concerning the DeFeos. Obviously, the DeFeos was real, but it was concentrated on the Lutz family that moved in after the DeFeos and lasted. I think it was 28 days they lasted in the house before they fled. And there was a lot of controversy after they left to a lot of holes in their story. For what actually happened, they kept changing their accounts and police reports didn't add up of various things. You probably know the story. What's your opinion on? It's always a film. I remember watching it. I was as a young teenager, and it's a film. I've always loved the films, and that's how I done we put the live on it. So, what's your opinion on the Lutz? Do you think they were real or fake?
I personally think it was 100% real. I've heard all aspects of the situation. I heard Ed and Lorraine's take on it. I've watched interviews with Ronnie DeFeo. I've seen how much they changed the police records to kind of hide the fact of what actually happened. I've been there. Whenever I pulled up into the drive, and at this time, we were able to get out. It was for sale, and we could have walked up to it and looked in. And I could see, the children playing in the yard, but the immense dread and hatred that came over me, I didn't want to get out of the car. I mean, I felt it as soon as I come onto Amityville Island. I mean, the whole island has that eerie feel to it, but especially there at the house. I mean, it could be a lot of the residual energy because, people were murdered there. And yeah, there has been maybe some glory holes stowed in there with them making the movie Amityville. I know some book deals kind of went wrong, some movie deals kind of went wrong. Some people got paid, some people didn't get paid, some people got fired. But I think it's a true story that they are trying to cover up.
One of the things that struck me about it was the house was built in 1924 by the I might pronounce it the Monahans. The Moynahans. They lived there till 1965, I believe it was, when the DeFeos bought it off them. And all the time that they lived there was never any reports of anything happening. So, you're talking maybe 40 plus years maybe, and they says there was never ever any reports. And after the Lutzes moved out, the people that moved out, every family's lived in the house since then have said that there's been. This is just what I've read, obviously. you've been there. I'm not an expert on it. There's been no reports of anything after the eclipses.
And I can tell you, like with my experience here, I mean, and it might be the same way with Amityville. There has been people that try to live in this house. And my landlord was really skeptical whenever I first moved in here because her renters weren't lasting, 2 months, 3 months. They might, stay a couple weeks. And she was just having so many people in and out of here. And she actually had to tell me that this is a historical home, it's haunted, you may not want it. I have been here for going on 3 years now. Because I understand them and I have that okay with them. So the people moving into Amityville, they may not be giving off, that energy for Amityville to happen. Now, I know with the DeFeos, I understand Ronnie and his dad fought all the time. There was a lot of animosity in the house. It was like a time bomb ready to go off anyway.
That's right.
So with all that fuel and that negative energy within that house, I think it just exploded. So whenever it settled finally back down, the let's move in there. They're anxious about having a new place. They've already heard about the murders that would carrying on. They're going to feed it a little bit, but it didn't happen the way that the fails were happening with it, and they got scared enough that they left, so they didn't feed it as much. So the next people that move in there, if they're just like, oh, it's all just a story and it's, made up and it's only the movies and they're not feeding it that, then they're not going to have that experience of the house.
That's true enough. Yep. True. As I say, I'm not disputing their story or whatever. It's just, it's always a thing that's fascinated me. So you've been at the Amityville house itself? I would love to visit it. Absolutely love to visit it because I'm 54 now, and I seen the movie when I was about 14, 15, and I saw the remake of it, and I saw other spin-offs from it as well. But the Amityville is always one of my top 10 list of horror films. That's why I decided to do the post on it. It's said to be built on Indian burial ground, an ancient burial ground as well. They were trying to say that this maybe was the reason for the activity and what happened. And as I know, there's been many theories on it. The deals. Some people think it was the eldest daughter that actually done the initial killings, and the bodies were moved. And there's been so many theories on it.
There's so much. I even tried to do. I think there's a live feed that I tried to look into a lot of that, and there's so many conspiracy theories and so many stories that have been changed. It's hard to get the truth on Amityville. It really is. You can dig and dig and dig and never get what you want out of it.
I think it's going to be one of these stories that will just carry on with time. Try to cleanse the haunted house with angry spirits. This is the truth of black magic. No one could live there for a month. They all left.
Well, if you have an angry spirit, I wouldn't try magic. I'd just try talking to it. They might just be like, okay.
I know man who killed his wife and didn't let the spirit go. He used to call it in a coven to get rid of it. So that's going down the lines of witchcraft and stuff, is it? Am I right? That kind of thing.
I think so.
Yeah. It's not a thing I've ever studied. The old witchcraft and black magic.
No, I never tried it. My grandpa was a Sanctorian. He was it's the kind of like the African sect of voodoo. He was really into his religion, which is pretty much. Looking at it now, as I got older, everybody's like, "Oh, voodoo, that is so bad." But they really, Sanctorians kind of remind me no more than the Catholic Church. They have their beliefs and they have deep beliefs in what they believe. But yeah, I've never gotten into all that black magic or studied up on it or anything.
I think I'd be wary of trying to start to study because you don't know what you can open yourself up to if you start to study it, So I think it's best. My opinion is it's a better thing best left alone. You know,
Exactly.
you
Especially if
stay away.
you're trying to do that in your house or someone else's home. I really hope that you know what you're doing so you don't open a doorway or make something a lot worse than it actually was to begin with.
So we can get rid of it now. Well, thanks very much, Nicole. I think that's us finally done with the questions.
Okay.
I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic having you in.
Thanks for having me.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. We ran on a wee bit longer than we thought we would, but you know what?
Hey,
Doesn't really matter. I've had a thoroughly enjoyable night. If you're still willing to do that live investigation with me, I'll drop you a wee mail.
yeah,
It'll be on Saturday, as I say, around about 10 o'clock your time, 4 o'clock your time, I
yeah,
think. Aye, 4.
And
I
we'll
will get that.
investigate that
That'd
lovely
be awesome if you
box.
can sit in there
yeah.
and give us you, and we'll do it as a live. I mean,
Hmm.
it'll be happy days. So again, thanks very much for coming in,
Thanks
and
for
enjoy
having me.
the rest of your day.
You
And
too.
we'll talk to you very soon. Take care and
Have a
stay
good
safe.
one. You too.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.